Here we go. So I gotta just put that timer up. All right. So this is like the second time I've done this because I keep running low on time. All right. The first video was about just how to build a composition in Musescore, because some of us are better in Musescore than in Garageband, and that's okay. Especially when you're trying to build things around lyrics and harmonies and stuff like that. Composition software program might be better. So you got to review and kind of dust off your knowledge on how to build music scores, that look like, let me find a better example here. Okay, this is like my full score. This one is, how do you take this sort of information and export it in a way that it now can be used in GarageBand, and then you can manipulate and combine it with different loops and elements in the program. Okay, so first is write something where your instrumental parts particularly are like Legos and locked together in a repetitive-ish pattern, like good pop songs do, right? It's backbeats and ostinatos, repeating instrumental parts that you can piece together. So that's what I recommend for this. Don't write the whole song necessarily where like there's a new part where your instrumental parts are constantly changing. Make your instrumental parts pretty repetitive so that the focus of the music is more on lyrics. It doesn't have to be boring, and if you want to create interest, then let the patterns between the repeating patterns, like let the relationship between the repeating patterns and the instruments be interesting, but don't make changes to the instrumental patterns themselves. I'll say it one more time. It's the interaction and relationship between the instrumental patterns that can make your music interesting with like different colors or timbres versus making actual changes to the patterns so it's not all the same. That's a bad idea. Instrumental parts should be repeating and predictable, but how they go together should be interesting. Okay? So do that first, build your parts, and then export them to a Midi file. How do you do that? I'm going to delete these because I already did it once, and then why aren't you letting me delete them? Oh, let's try maybe again. All right, so first is you go to File Parts because that's what you want to make. Okay, so I'm going to, I don't know, delete these, I think. Great, so let's pretend Miss Duncan didn't do this before. All right. I want to first build my voice part. Remember that your vocal parts aren't going to express your lyrics in Musescore. It doesn't have the ability to read the words you type. Okay, the only thing you'll get from a vocal line here is like the pitch and rhythm in a bad human voice approximation. So maybe record it yourself. I'll leave that to you though. Okay, so hit new, and then right now it's just a generic part. Click on which instrument is going to go in there and then type the name of it. I like to name them the same thing so I keep track of them. And then hit plus. Ta-da! Keep going. Keep building your parts. Oops, Miss Duncan made a mistake. Almost made a mistake there. Okay. Hi, Missy. I'm making a screencast for our grade 8 class. Do you want to join me or Ani? Okay, Chakam. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Right, Missy and I, besties. Okay. Here, let's keep building new parts. All right, new part. I want a clarinet part. Clarinet 1, because I got multiple. And then new part. I'm gonna go down here though and like add some. I'm just gonna jump ahead, okay? Pretend I built those other parts, all right? Saxophone. Cool. All right, say okay. Pretend Miss Duncan just did all of that. Yay! Now, what's happened is that we've taken these different lines and then made them separate files, because if you try to save and import this, it's going to be everything compressed into one and you can't separate it later. All right, so I'm going to go now and make this a file that GarageBand can use. That is a Midi file. So I have to export into Midi. You have multiple choices for sound files. I don't recommend you use these ones because they're huge. They have a ton of information. Now, as you get older, maybe in 910 music or DP music, you should use these files because with more information comes a higher quality of sound. Think of it like a good computer screen or video games, right? Really good, fun video games have a ton of software information to make the game space super detailed and make the characters move right so that their hair is really natural looking, almost more than natural looking. That's awesome when you're really skilled and know what you're doing. These files right now are almost too big for our skills, where you're going to blow up your hard drive. So use MP3 is like the final file type you should use when everything's put together in GarageBand. Like you basically carve out all the extra parts that you don't need to make the music happen into an MP3. When you're importing stuff into GarageBand though for editing, I recommend a Midi file. Okay, so leave it at Midi. Then pick a place to save it. I like my desktop, and then make a new file. So go to new folder, title it like innovations, MIDI files, or whatever you want, and then make sure you know where to find it. Okay. And then save it here. Bam. Then go to that place in Finder. Okay. So I'm going to go desktop. I'm looking for my MIDI files. Look at that. I got a clarinet file and I got a saxophone file. Yay, Miss Duncan. So then, I need to get it in here. All right, so let's go to, I've already got my clarinet file in here. You can see I had another one. Let me delete this and just kind of get rid of it. All right, now I want my saxophone file. So I'm just gonna drag it in if my cursor will work properly. All right, check it out. Ready? What's going on? All right, let's try this. All right, here we go. See the plus sign? That's always good. Bam. Import tempo. The answer is no, because if I import the tempo from my MIDI file, it will disrupt the tempo of my overall GarageBand file. So just say no. Okay. Then we've got a little bit of extra like pieces on the file. Just ignore that. All right, now I'm going to kind of trim it up. By the way, whenever you're editing, zoom in so you can get a really precise look at your, oops, see how Miss Duncan made a mistake there? Yeah, I ended up deleting parts of the file. That's not good. All right, check it out. So when I want to zoom in and start the file right here, just keep zooming in, and then you can get a really precise cut. Anyway, GarageBand is good for a lot of things. I don't know why that keeps disappearing when I move it. That's annoying, isn't it? Anyway, all right, so here's my saxophone file and my clarinet file. Check it out. Now it'll play. Let me run that scroller back and line these. You can line things up. You can set them off center. You can piece them together in whatever way you think sounds good. Nice. Yay. And so what I can do, because I'm running out of time here before this file cuts off, is that I can keep layering my different instrument files that I built in Musescore, and then I can add backtracks and stuff. So like for your drum set and like accent or not melodic, not primary sections of the score sounds, stuff for fun or interest, use Apple loops for that. Okay? Your drum set files are going to be better from GarageBand than you can build in Musescore. Here's the next thing I really want to show you. So sometimes you can get files that they're green, which means you can edit them slightly. Okay, so I'm going to go real fast and turn that down. If you click on any of these green bars, you can change the pitch in the Apple Loops files that allow for this. Okay, so look for loops that are green, and you can then slightly adapt the notes to maybe like what you want for your music. Okay, so I made 2 videos real quick to try and help you. One is the first one's for even just how to build a file in Musescore, like where do you click, how do you get a full score that looks like this, okay? And then the next one is about how do we import and therefore hopefully get our instrument parts that'll match our melody and lyrics into GarageBand, where we can add a backtrack.